give me.
Okay, brother. First, you say your name and when did you born and where did you born. Then you talk about your mother and father. What was their professions? How educated themselves? Okay.
My name's Kyle Rourke, and I was born here in Los Angeles, California, 1970. My mom is from and dad are both from Kansas City. My dad's from Kansas City, Kansas, and my mom's from Kansas City, Missouri. My mother's an English teacher, so she has a bachelor's degree, and my dad's a mathematician, so he has a master's degree, and he was an aerospace engineer, and they both just retired.
Okay, what was their religion life? How they were living? How much you speak more is better for us. So please talk about your if they had any religions or.
My mom's a Christian Scientist, so that's a Protestant religion that comes from Boston. It's a very small kind of a religious sect, and we grew up reading the King James Version of the Bible. So I grew up going to Sunday school every weekend with my brothers. I have two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother. And my dad is an agnostic and a scientist, so he never went to church with us. So it was just my mom and my two brothers.
Okay, what about your brothers and sisters? What's their profession? And yeah, please you talk about your if they take you to the church or how they if they educate about religion or how they educate you for life growing. This part is about your kidness.
I'd say we weren't that religious. My mom's very religious, but I'd say my two brothers and I, we kind of rebelled against religion, and we just had a lot of questions that I don't think we found an answer to in the Bibles. We all liked some of the Bible stories. My older brother's a professor who's kind of a Marxist, so he's very left. So he kind of rejected God. And then my younger brother is a construction worker. So he's married and has two kids. So he's starting to look into different religions. I think he's been to the Mormon church, and he's been to a couple other Christian churches. He wants to find some kind of religious background for his family. And I'd say for growing up, from what we learned in church, it was very different from what how school was. Like there was a lot of pressure, mostly just to be a good student, get good grades, and there was a lot of pressures growing up for going out and having fun, drinking, doing drugs and stuff like that. So I think the religious background for a lot of kids that I grew up, we just kind of didn't have the faith to stay on the right track. So most of my friends were agnostic, or nobody really talked about God. We just did what we wanted to do.
This is general in USA, I think. The people are they are living how they want to live. They don't want to care the rules of anything.
I think so, and I think a problem with a lot of people, younger people, feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy in church. We watch on TV a lot. The religious leaders always getting in trouble for talking really good in sermons, but then they get arrested for a sin or something. So we saw that a lot on TV. So I think as a young kid that affected a lot of us in religion, where we just lost faith in a lot of the Christian leaders in this country.
So you mean that the teachers, the teachers of this Christianity and the popes were not good samples. They are just speaking and they are not good samples.
Everybody that I know really believes that, unless somebody's a very strong Christian. But I think a lot of times we see even the strong Christians still, they kind of lack a faith that they live in their daily life by, how they spend their money, being generous and treating other people kindly. I think there's a problem with the Christian faith in America right now.
Let's come to other question. So we start from the primary school. Do you have any good or bad memories about your father and mother?
Mostly good memories. I think my parents were very good people and tried to show me the right ways. I was just never a very good student, so I got in trouble a lot, and I don't think my parents really were able to help me with school. And most of the time I got average to poor grades.
Okay, let's come to your education, brother. How was the education? Please start from your first school, then go secondary, elementary, and high school. Even say the names of the school where did you educate, and talk your school time.
The first 10 years of my life, I grew up in La Cañada, and it was pretty much a pure white neighborhood. We didn't have, the only minorities were Asians, so I kind of remember that there was a city right next to me that was Pasadena, and they had a lot more, it was pretty much African American, and I remember they were going to integrate the schools, and I remember on TV seeing a lot of white parents yelling at little black kids on the bus, and that had an effect on me. So when I was about third and fourth grade, I went to a private school, and that was a little bit more mixed, where we did have more minorities. So it was the first time I went to school with African American kids. So I felt good being able to make friends with people from outside of my own race. And then we moved from La Cañada down here to Palos Verdes, and the schools up where I grew up are very challenging, and most of the parents have a lot of money and a lot of education, so there's a lot of pressure to study hard, and if you're not good in sports or school, you kind of fall into the wrong group. And I started listening to rock and roll and hanging out with friends, and I grew my hair long, and so that was my lifestyle. I didn't really care about school, and I was looking probably to get out and go into the military was my idea by the time I got into high school.
How was your school time? Well, you were not a good student, you mean? Did you like the school? What about the teachers? What they were thinking to you? I mean, how was relations with the schools? And nice or sad memories you can talk about?
Bad memories in school, I don't have too many. I did go to kind of a special school where you could go to school part-time, and I got into lifting weights. So I started to exercise a lot. So I did get a skill before I joined the military. I learned how to weight lift, and that was the best experience I had. I had a weightlifting teacher that spent a lot of time with me.
And okay, brother, let's come to you. Did you go to high school? You finished high school?
I graduated high school.
But didn't go to university?
No.
Okay. So after the high school, you start to work, isn't it? Could you talk about your working?
While I was in high school, a friend of mine joined the Army in 1988. So I went and saw an Army recruiter, and then also a United States Marine recruiter. So I decided to join the Marines in 1989, and I went down to San Diego in 1989, and when I got out, the Berlin Wall fell down, and the military invaded Panama. So while I was in my training, I watched all this, and right as I was a new Marine, the first Iraq War broke out with Kuwait, so that had a big effect on me. I was in Japan during the time, but almost everybody I knew went over and had to fight in Kuwait, and I was 20 years old and 21 during the war.
During which war?
The Desert Storm.
You have been in Iraq?
I stayed in Japan. I never went over there,
Yeah.
but I saw everybody go.